we are about to judge. So we're like somewhat important people to judge.
We're VIPs, very important people.
Yeah. We are driving back from judging the show. It's Sunday, it's the next day, and we're both judges. And we're just going to chit-chat about what took place. Did we agree on all the decisions? What is our opinion? And as you know, judging is subjective. So it's not that often that all the judges see things the exact same way. One judge could say one person won, and another says another one won, and another says another one won. So just because you win doesn't necessarily mean you're the best. It just means you won on that day. The next day, or with a different set of judges, something different could completely happen. Unless you're like so dominant in your division that it's just like, oh my goodness, which does happen in fact. But oftentimes it's not the case. So what did you think of the juniors? There was 3 juniors. Remember the juniors?
Yeah, so number 20 definitely was my favorite.
Yeah, there was number 20 who won like 4 divisions. He won classic physique, he won bodybuilding,
and he was a novice,
junior, first time
competing.
So he's winning everything, and he's really good shape, and he's like really quite lean. And then the second guy, he had the most shredded glutes in the whole show. Like the most. I actually saw him this morning at the gym when I was training. Ridiculously peeled glutes, like nuts, and very big quads. Not as lean in the stomach and like upper body. Like shockingly, like if you saw him from behind, you'd be like, this dude is the lean, like he's got to be at 4%. But from the front, he just carries his fat different. Like, so he has, I would say, not above average condition upper body from the front, but way below, like the most shredded guy in the show, lower body from the back. So just goes to show different people. Half. Yeah, absolutely. Like different people carry their fat different. And then the guy in third, I mean, he had like ridiculously good shape potential. And if he was literally 10 pounds leaner, like that's 6 weeks out. That's like, lean for off season, but not like show shape.
No, exactly.
But really, really good. So that was the junior. So I was like, this is junior. It's like nutty.
I was joking around with 2 of the other judges saying on my next YouTube video, sort of joking about that because I haven't done one in so long. I was saying, I'm going to do a video on how to diet for a bodybuilding show.
With the
based on no one coming in lean enough. And then I was joking around saying, so this is what we do. You just stop eating. You just don't eat. Just don't eat.
Frankly, a lot of people, what happens is about a month from the show, they basically get a message saying, you are not in shape. What is, like, you're not going to make it. And there's so much pressure to come in shredded. Like I'm pretty lean. I'm like 9%. I look good. But if I was like a month out from a show, it would be panic mode because I'd be like, I'm not ready. And then they go on these starvation diets, like a guy going on like, say 12 to 1500 calories, or a girl going on like 800 to 1200 calories, like a bodybuilder, and just doing like 2 hours cardio a day, that kind of stuff. Because you're not in shape. So most people, they don't diet early enough, long enough, or they bulk too much in the off season, and it's like a nightmare.
And you've put in so much work. You want to be bringing your best. Like, you don't want to be like, oh, if I had just dieted harder, if I had just had 2 more weeks. Like, you know your show day. It's like, if you're not lean enough, you need to get lean enough before your show. Like, don't come out there looking soft because you're not gonna, you don't want to waste your opportunity to get a higher placing than what you could have.
And my advice is usually, you need to diet 3 more weeks than you think you do to be shredded. Like, most people, if they say they're shredded, they need 3 more weeks to be actually shredded.
Now the female competitors were really good.
Sometimes, well, that's a different thing. A lot of the women in bikini, we get into bikini now, they're too lean.
A lot of them were maybe juniors or young, and they don't have the muscle development. So in order to see the muscle that you have to diet down. It's just it's like a stringy look. It's not like a fuller, more rounded muscle look. So I think it's just muscle development. I think if they had more muscle on them, they wouldn't have ended up looking too lean and stringy.
So I tend to favor girls in bikini that demonstrate a little bit more muscle mass, as opposed to she's kind of favors a little bit smaller. which is fine. It doesn't matter.
No, I don't. I like larger muscle.
Okay.
I just
in
said.
the overall, the girl who I had first in the overall was the tallest class girl, the one in the purple, I think, who she had also competed in wellness, and you're like, no, she's too big, she's for wellness.
You shouldn't be able to compete and win bikini, wellness, and
at a small show, you absolutely
figure.
could win. You could win bikini, figure, wellness, bodybuilding, because there's not enough competitors at the highest level that
But what I'm saying is that if your look favors one, you should be in that class and win that
professional
class. And then you shouldn't be able to win the other class.
So let's talk about the overall. So in the overall, we all judged, did our whole thing, and there was actually a tie between two competitors. And did you have either of those two competitors in first?
No.
So she didn't and I didn't, right? So I had one of the girls in second place. Did you have any of those girls in second place that made the tie?
Yes.
Oh, okay, cool.
I think.
So we both had somebody in the overall that was a tie. So we had to rejudge after there was two girls left. And there was two girls left, and I'm like, well, one of the girls in the overall, I already had her in second, and the other girl I had behind her.
Yes.
So I was like, well, this is easy.
That's exactly what I did too, because my second place was one of the two people up there. So, and the third, the other person who was there was my third. So I already automatically knew who I was.
Right. So you can see just how subjective. And so there was essentially 4 different girls that could have won.
Yeah.
Out of 6, really, based on the judge. Like, and the one that I had winning, you said was too much muscle. She was too big. She should have been in wellness, or so to speak.
I think she would have been a.
But if you looked at her against other girls that have a fair bit of muscle, like at nationals or at pro level, she would not look like she has more muscle than the pros or the top national level girls. But on that stage, she did seem to have maybe 3 or 4 pounds more muscle than the others. So it just because I had her first doesn't mean she's the best, and just because she had someone else winning doesn't mean they're the best, and just because you didn't win or you won doesn't mean you're the best. So like, it's a very winning is icing on the cake. You show up to a show, you give it your all, you look your best the way that you want to look, and if the judges happen to agree and you win, that's like a bonus.
Yeah.
If you go in it any other way, you are going to be disappointed, because think of how many girls, if you don't win overall, that means you didn't win. Technically, somebody beat you. So only one person in the whole show, technically, can be super pumped, because you could win your division and not win overall, and you're like, well, I lost. Well, so what? It doesn't mean you didn't look good or look amazing or look even the best. Subjective.
And every judge can give you reasons why they scored someone higher or lower than the next person.
Yeah.
And the next judge beside you may have been the complete opposite. So you just have to bring your best. You have to be confident in the package that you brought, and you can't be disappointed if you didn't win, because there's only one winner. There's always going to be lots of people disappointed. You have to remember too, the judges are very, very close. So we can literally see pimples on your butt cheeks from our angle. So
I saw pimples on asses. Yeah. We were so close you could smell a fart.
Yeah. Like with experience too also comes with learning. So, okay, what angle the judges are at? What angle, what height, who's seeing me, how am I making sure all the judges see? All of this comes with experience, because you can practice posing in front of a mirror, but are you keeping in mind there's a panel of 7 judges that run from one side of the stage to the other side of the stage? Is all the judges fairly being able to see you? If I'm at one end, I can't see who's over there. So at the other end, you need to make sure you're turning to face me so I can see you. If you're always facing one side, I get a horrible angle of what I'm seeing.
We were on both sides of the stage. Her far left, me far right.
Yeah.
I'm like, and I filmed a lot of this, so you'll see some of the footage through this video, but you will see anyone that's closer to me looks way bigger, like double the size on the left. If you put a super heavyweight like Morgan, 280 pound shredded muscle, and he's standing on the left, and you put a lightweight 150 pound guy on the right, He can look just as big, even though it's over 100 pounds less muscle, just from the closeness to your eyes. So when you see videos, like I'll post, some of these people, you're gonna be like, oh, I had it that way. But you're judging wrong. You're thinking, oh, that size outbeat that person.
Exactly.
But they're on the wrong end.
And the head judges flip each other, flip the competitors like side for side, so we can fairly see everybody to judge. But if you're coming down to the end of your round, it's like you got to get into your poses, you got to show us, you have to turn, tilt your hips a little bit differently so people can see you. It just comes with practice.
So classic physique and bodybuilding, and obviously it's similar. You're judging a bodybuilding competition, but yet we saw Rowan, who's from where we're at, we know him, we're friends with him, and we saw Chris Panero, who I also coached him, and we're friends with both of these people, and so we could speak of them specifically. Rowan Humble won overall in classic physique.
Yeah.
That's what Chris Bumstead does, in case you guys don't know. So he won overall. He was at his best by quite a bit. And he competed in 2 divisions, bodybuilding and classic, and Chris Panero did the same thing. And guess what? Chris won in the bodybuilding Gladiator division, and Rowan got 3rd. And I think it swapped the opposite. Chris got 3rd, and Rowan won classic physique.
Yeah.
So just because you win one event doesn't mean you're better than the other guy in the other event. These 2 guys both have, respectively, both have classic physiques and both have bodybuilding physiques. If they had only entered one division or the other, it wouldn't be like, what are you doing? What's wrong with you? So they're both great, but one's a bit more classic looking and one is a bit more bodybuilding looking.
Exactly.
Oh, and let's get into bodybuilding. We had Morgan McDonald, who was 6'2" and 280, ripped. Okay, that's big, and he was in heavyweight against another. But like, there's different divisions there. We had the Gladiator, is like an invitation only. It's for like people in the Maritimes, so like kind of like the 4 provinces. We had some guy. I'd never heard of this guy.
He's from Quebec.
He came in from Quebec, so that's quite a drive in. So, and he's perfectly able to compete, but he couldn't compete in the Gladiator because that's for people from the Maritimes. So it's specific. But he ended up beating Morgan, and this guy was friggin' impressive. And when I saw him on his own, I first saw Morgan, I'm like, well, this guy's winning the whole show for sure. No one's gonna beat this guy. And then I saw this Quebec guy, and he come out, and I'm like, he's gonna beat Morgan because his muscles are just so massive. Then I saw them together battling it out in the heavyweight, and frankly, they're both super heavyweight, so they're both massive. And then I personally had Morgan winning against him, and she had the other guy winning. So obviously more judges had the guy from Quebec than Morgan, but some saw it my way and some saw it the other way. For me, they were both about equal in conditioning. They both could have been a tad bit leaner, and by that I mean they could have for sure dieted, say, 2 or 3 weeks longer. If they were gunning for a pro card, if it was a pro card on the line, and they knew that the best in the country are all showing up for one pro card, I'm convinced that both of them would have showed up better than this. So if they competed again in 1 or 2 weeks, they would both be better than today. Not that they weren't both amazing, but what did you see? One guy over the other?
So I had the opposite. I had the guy from Quebec winning. And the way that I judge is pose by pose. So I have one name on one side, one name on the other side, and they're going through their mandatories, and I'm putting a check mark on who is winning each of the poses.
And how many poses are there? Like 7 maybe?
Yeah, I didn't do most muscular because everyone looks good doing that, but all the other mandatories, you're marking. So the guy from Quebec won everything, in my opinion, except for the side poses, which is what I had Morgan. So I had like Morgan 2, and then each of them got half a point on one of them because I liked them both equally. So it ended up
it's a tie.
that one of the Quebec guy won. He got more points on poses. I thought he did better.
So you can see that's a unique style to judge from. And what I do is I look at 2 people and I'm like, they're very close. And each pose I'm like, yeah, they're very close. And then suddenly Morgan does a side chest and is so dominant in that pose that to me it just overshadows the entire thing. Kind of like you might have heard shows are won from the back. Somebody could say, you're really close and everything. And then you turn around, one guy's back is way bigger than the other. it's like, okay, well, the lights are out now. Sorry. So, in my opinion, you could literally win one pose out of 7, say, but you win it by so much and lose barely every other pose. I'd still give it to the bun that won overall. And I don't look at it just like pose for pose. I look at it as like overall conditioning, who's better conditioned, and I look for symmetry and also the size. So the guy who won from Quebec, his legs were ridiculously big. Morgan's are even more ridiculously big. So I look at it and say, if there were a bunch of other pros right now competing, because like they're at that level, like these guys would want pro cards, which guy do I think could beat other pros and would stand out on a pro stage more? And I felt like Morgan would stand out more, seeing as he's 6'2" and 280 versus the other guy's still massive, like, but probably, I don't know, 230 is my guess. So it's just so much muscle. When you're absolutely massive, like when you're a pro, you actually almost don't look that lean because you're so bubbly. The muscles are so big that you kind of just like can't see the condition. It's just, it's like you're so big. But when a guy comes out and he's a bantamweight, lightweight, 150 pounds, and you see their like cross-strided quads and stuff, you're like, oh shit, but they're like a string bean, but they're shredded. So you know they're ripped. But bigger guys, they don't often see that. And I think you see a stomach, because these guys, when you're 280, you're eating a lot of food. Your stomach's gonna be more bloated. You're not gonna have a Chris Bumstead waistline when you're like a super heavyweight. So you see that, and you see it's a little bit maybe bloated a little bit, but it's not really fat. So what do you think? I think there's a bit of truth there.
I don't know. If I'm judging muscle and I can't see it, then I can't.
I can't wait till you see, and you see how right I am. You're gonna see this picture, fat. I can't see it. Was he leaner than me?
Babe,
was Morgan leaner than me right now?
There was no hamstrings popping like crazy.
I'm the only one. I'm about the only one in the off season that has hamstrings and they're lean like that. It just looks like that on my body. If most guys don't have hamstrings, even when they're 5% body fat, they don't have those kind of bumps. It's kind of like the way it is. Like my quads, I don't have zipper quads. Even when I'm 4% body fat, my quads don't have that shredded sideways look.
They do.
And my glutes don't look like
you were doing bodybuilding at your pro shows.
Oh, just a bit on one of them, but not all 3 heads. And my glutes are ripped if I can angle my butt in a certain way, but my ass is so friggin' loose, the skin, that you don't see the cross striations that somebody like Joe Elves had. Remember him? Yeah. Ian Valaire. Those guys, his glutes were ridiculous, or even that junior in this show. Mine don't look like that, even though there's no fat. It's just the skin is like, ugh. Yeah. So you can't see it, but it doesn't mean you're fat. It's just, it's a different look. But yeah, so anyway, these guys were close, and one guy won over the other guy, and it could flip-flop any other way, and it would be fun to see them against more big other guys. But yeah, they both can be better, so maybe they'll both win a pro card at some point. So we judged wellness for the first time ever, bikini wellness, and that category, you're supposed to have bigger glutes and bigger legs and a bit more muscle than in bikini. And at the pro ranks, by bit more muscle, we mean like way more, like ridiculous amounts of muscle. Like if you saw a wellness pro at a normal level of body fat, and by that I mean say 25%, you would say she's a pro bodybuilder, and you would say she's thick, and you probably wouldn't like it. Most people, I'm saying most. You can train as much as you want, eat as much as you want, take as many supplements as you want. If you aren't born with that God-given genetics at the elite level, you are not getting a pro card. You can try all you want to wear a waist trainer or to do your freaking hip thrusts all friggin' year long for 10 years. You need to have something in you that is way above average for not only just building muscle, but in the right places with the right symmetry and shape.
And retaining fat in the right places.
Yeah, you literally need more fat. Like a lot of girls will diet down, they'll get lean, and their asses disappear, but they still got stomach fat. And it's like, you need to be like, just your abs are there, you have abs, but your butt is still huge. It's like, it just happens to be that you hold your fat there.
Yeah.
You know, if you're the opposite, I've seen girls with cellulite, hips, cellulite, everywhere. A lot of fat, 30% body fat, shredded six-pack, veins in the abs, 180 pounds, 5'4", veins on stage with cellulite, tremendous lots of fat. Like if you saw the lower half, you'd say, oh, well, she's obviously obese. You know, if she loses 40, 50 pounds, she'll be great. Oh, and some of you are thinking, you know, you're older and you can't do it. There was one guy, he was 57 years old.
And a vegan.
And vegan, and probably, arguably, the leanest guy in the whole show. Arguably, potentially the leanest guy. He didn't win his class, but I actually think I had him winning his class. One of the classes, I think I had him first, but he didn't win. But he was
smaller,
shredded, but a bit smaller, probably 170s. Maybe a guy that's like 200 plus pounds beat him, a lot more body fat. But it just goes to show, 57, you can be peeled like 5% body fat shredded, and you're 57. So just because you're older doesn't mean you can't get in shape. So part of the show, there was a memorial for some fallen gladiators, some people who had passed away. 3 in particular out of the gladiators, out of probably in all, there's maybe 30 gladiators, maybe. And I was thinking, this is scary. They were all in their 40s and early 50s. And I was like, and as I'm watching this, I'm just thinking, it's so important to keep healthy. Like, not saying that, you know, in particular that these people may not have been doing what they need to be healthy, but like, it just shows just how much you need to think about your health and just think, is it worth it? Is it worth putting everything into this and maybe potentially neglecting the things that can keep you healthy? For example, are you getting your blood work done? Like, are you doing things that maybe you shouldn't be doing for bodybuilding that are making it more dangerous for you? Like, do you have good cardiovascular health? Is your blood pressure elevated? Cholesterol? All these little things. Are you in fact doing a lot of weights, but you're doing sets of 5 and resting, and you're strong, and you're force feeding, you're 300 pounds. I talked to one guy actually at the event, and he had a heart attack, quadruple bypass. He said he was 210 pounds in the Army. He got up to 350. He's a powerlifter. He competed with me like whatever years ago. Quadruple bypass heart attack, and he's trying to get down to 230 again. He's like, maybe 205 doesn't make sense, but he used to run a lot. And a young guy, and it's like, if you just force the food and force the weight and you're like, get big at all costs, what damage does that potentially have on your heart and longevity? Because trust me, when you're young, you feel invincible. I certainly did. I did. Now at 45, I don't, but I prioritize doing cardio and eating the right foods, like healthy foods. And obviously we can't be perfect. I don't do everything perfect. Like I have aspartame, not that it's gonna, you know, do anything, but it's not as healthy as just drinking water. You know, I got my flavored, whatever this is, zero. Yeah. So, I mean, do things within reason, but like, think of it. I got up, I didn't train yesterday because I was too busy with the show. I got up and went to the gym and trained, and I'm doing a bike race later. And on Friday, I was able to get in a bike race. I didn't have time to train because I was traveling to Yarmouth and whatnot. My grandmother my grandmother passed away. She was 99. So a lot of people were, you know, saying, you know, my condolences and whatnot. And I'm like, this is like a celebration of life to me, because when you make it to 99 and you are healthy, like basically the entire time you're healthy, living at home, and your mind is with you, you can think and you're yourself, there's nothing. How could you ask for a better life than that? So don't you want to be like her and live to be 99 years old? Do the best you can to try to get there. Just whatever fun or pleasure you're having right now, like if you're taking something to look a certain way, do you need that dose? Is it that important? Is it going to make that much difference if you're 200 pounds shredded versus 190? Like, just analyze it and think about it. If it is, then by all means do it. Do what makes you happy. But realize you can't be happy when you're not here anymore. Ending it here. Don't forget to pick up that freaking cookbook. If you haven't got it yet, you don't know what you're missing. So many delicious recipes. They're very filling and they taste good. There's no way you get the book and don't like at least some of the recipes. There's no way. Not possible. Don't even lie to me. If you say that, I know you didn't try them all. Until next time, we're out.